Hello everyone, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. Most of us are looking for a quick and easy meal to make that's nutritious and delicious. Well, try this one. It's quick and easy zesty potato and chicken. And it's made with herb and spice sauces and tomato and Havarti cheese. So let's get started with the potatoes. For today's recipe, we're using 3 or 4 medium potatoes. Wash them and cut them into wedges and put them in some boiling hot water and onto the stove to cook. Add a little salt if you wish, but it only takes about 3 or 4 minutes after it starts to boil because we only want them partially cooked. Just drain the water off them and set them aside until we're ready to use them. Next, we're going to make the potato wedge sauce. In a small bowl, add a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Next, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And also a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of basil. Now then, a 1/2 tablespoon of whole grain mustard. And also a 1/2 tablespoon of prepared mustard. Now finally, add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Now we're just going to stir that around until it's all well combined. Place the partially boiled potato wedges into a casserole dish. And pour the sauce over the top of them and mix it together until they're well coated. These ingredients will really complement your wedges. And set this aside until we're ready to put it in the oven. So now on to making some sauce for the chicken. Once again, in a small bowl, add a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Then also a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then 1/2 teaspoon of chicken spices. 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Now then, add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And finally, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Then take your spoon and give it a good stir. Then set it aside until we're ready to use it. And when it comes to using cheese in a recipe, you can certainly substitute it with whatever cheese you like. I'm using Havarti cheese today. And just slice it into 1-inch strips. Get some nice fresh tomatoes, wash them, slice them, and then cut those slices in half again. Using a brush, brush the tomatoes with your sauce, making sure to coat them thoroughly. Take 2 large fresh chicken breasts. Using a very sharp knife, slice them partially through about 1 inch apart. The idea is to make nice slits so that we can put the cheese and tomatoes in there. Take a small baking dish or cake pan and grease it with some olive oil. And place your chicken in the pan. Then insert a tomato slice in each of these slits, making sure that they're well wedged down into the slits in the chicken. And when you're slicing your tomatoes, give them a nice thick slice so that you get a good amount of tomato in each bite, because once you've cooked it, they will shrink a little bit. And then you go on to doing the same thing with your cheese slices. Just put them in right beside where you've got each tomato. And sometimes more cheese is better, so if you want, you can double up on that. Just make sure that you get a good amount of cheese in with each tomato slice, and it will cook up nicely and roast together. And like I said, I'm using Havarti cheese slices here. But you know, almost any cheese pairs well with tomatoes, so go ahead and use whatever it is that you like to use. Now brush the tops of each of these with the remaining chicken sauce, making sure that each piece of chicken is well coated. And once you have done that, whatever sauce is left over, just pour it on top. Now we're ready to place this in the oven, so we'll do that at the same time as the potatoes, so that we can keep a good eye on both, and hopefully they'll both be done about the same time. So you'll place these in a preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And the time to bake them may vary, but approximately 35 minutes. Your chicken should be nice and tender, your cheese should be melted and a little bit browned. And pretty much the same thing with your potatoes, nice and tender and a little bit browned. So if you like these a little bit more well done, leave them in for another 5 minutes or so. And the amounts in this recipe today will be enough for 2 to 4 people, depending on how hungry everyone is. But if you needed to make it for more people, double the recipe or triple the recipe. Not hard to do. So go ahead and plate this up and dinner is served. So there you have it, another easy and delicious recipe. Go ahead and give it a try. Let me know in the comment section how it worked out for you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, happy eating.